Hi church, it's Laura here. I'm just going to be sharing with you over the next few weeks. I'm going to do a mini series, but today, before I do that, I wanted to talk to you guys about all the things we're hearing at the moment in the news about George Floyd's death and the wider conversation about race and kind of the distress and the kind of outrage that's happening across the world at the moment. And you might think, oh, here we go, Laura again, jumping on a bandwagon. I do that, I acknowledge that I do that, but I really feel that this is a bandwagon we all need to jump onto, really, and kind of express solidarity with our black brothers and sisters, both here and in America as well. And so I didn't know whether to do this post. I'm a good one at kind of sharing things other people have said and going here, and putting posts on Facebook that I've written. But I don't feel as comfortable behind a video camera. And so I wasn't going to do a post or a statement on behalf of the church. But a couple of things happened over the last few weeks that made me think differently about that. So about a month ago, just after Ahmaud Arbery's death, he was a black man who was jogging in his local community and he was gunned down. He was shot to death by two white men. And just after that, I shared a post on Instagram that said something along the lines of, we need to have a discussion as a church, as the evangelical church, about how complicit we may have been through kind of white supremacy and white privilege in allowing these things to carry on and allowing these systems of injustice to continue. And I shared it and I thought, oh, I'll probably get a bit of flack for that. I didn't, which is a surprise, but I did get a message from a black friend of mine who lives in America, and she said, thank you so much for sharing this. I think you'll get some stick, but I feel so alone, and lots of my white Christian friends don't speak up about this stuff and don't share and don't talk about it, and it's really difficult for me. And she said that she had actually been mistreated by police herself over in America. And then yesterday, one of our friends down from the Swansea church, Dustin Rubio, he said, what we need to hear is the black community, we want to hear messages, we want to hear support from our white friends and our white Christian leaders. Like, we need to be hearing this stuff. We need to hear where you stand on this. And although maybe this should have been said years ago, maybe just it's that the time is now. We need to draw that line in the sand now and say where we stand. And so I want to say on behalf of myself and of our church, I've talked to Pastor Daz about this, and he really encouraged me to sort of deliver this message, that we don't want to just not be racist. We want to understand racism. We want to choose to be anti-racist. We want to stand against this evil. And so I think as a church, traditionally, we've been good at speaking about some things and not about others. We've raised our voice in lots of issues. We talked a lot about pro-life. We talk a lot about the sanctity of marriage. We talk a lot about religious rights and kind of protecting those and allowing us to gather as churches and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think we've talked much or well about racism, and I don't think we've reflected as churches of predominantly white people on kind of how our behaviour and how our own prejudices have impacted the people around us, our brothers and sisters that are black and non-white. And so there are a few things that I think that we can begin to actually do that move us beyond outrage to action and advocacy. And so we see these stories on the news, sadly, too often, and we share them, don't we? We share them and say, oh, how awful, I'm so glad I don't live in America, or I'm so glad this, outrage. But we don't then go and do anything else about it. We just kind of share it and we kind of mourn with people and then we move on without kind of taking that conversation further and challenging the structures and the systems that perpetuate these issues. And so actually our outrage is pretty kind of meaningless. But there are things that we can do to move us beyond that. And I wanted to encourage you guys, as our church and other leaders maybe listening to this video, that we can move beyond being sad about these things. We can move beyond outrage and into action and into advocacy in a few ways. So firstly, we are the church and we pray. So we need to pray against the powers and principalities at play. The Bible says that we do not fight against flesh and blood, but the powers and principalities. So we need to pray, we need to go into spiritual warfare first and foremost against powers and principalities that perpetuate division, that perpetuate racism, that perpetuate violence, anarchy, all of this lawlessness, and murder, essentially, against black people and white as well. You know, when we say Black Lives Matter, we don't mean that white lives don't matter, but we're saying that Black Lives Matter too, and they haven't, our structures haven't allowed them to matter enough up until this point, so we need to speak up on that. So prayer, we can pray into the spiritual, we can pray into the practical, we can pray that right now that God would bring peace to the nation. Lots of people are saying that right now that there can't be peace until there's justice, but we also, for justice to occur, there also needs to be peace. So, but I would say that if right now you are thinking, you know, George Floyd's murder was really sad, but the looting isn't great and the riots are bad. I completely agree, looting isn't good, but if that's the point that we come to, then I think we need to rewind and have a reflect on why that is more important to us right now in the forefront of our mind than the murder of innocent people. So that needs to be had, that prayer against the principalities and powers, and practically that people would be safe, that people would be protected, that people would stand together and that there'd be unity. Secondly, we need to start having conversations. We need to start having conversations with our families and our friends and our children. You know, there's topics that we talk about freely as a family and there's topics that we don't. And I would hazard a guess that not many people in their families talk about racism. And I know I haven't in the past. Maybe today when you are kind of having your Sunday lunch, your roast dinner after church, or another night during the week, you can sit down together around the table with your kids and have this conversation. Where have I seen racism at school? Maybe I've experienced it myself. Maybe I've perpetuated it. And what do I need to do differently? What could I learn from this situation? How do we see these things happening? Because if we don't talk about it and we're not open and we don't have these conversations, we can't learn, can we? And I think we don't always need to agree and we don't always need to share exactly the same understanding, but we need to talk about it. We need to have an open conversation. And we need to make space for our black brothers and sisters in our churches and in our communities to teach us and to tell us what they've experienced without us commenting, without us trying to fix, without us bringing a solution immediately. We just need to listen and learn. So we need to converse with each other and challenge each other when prejudice and bias and racism exists. But we also need to listen to our black brothers and sisters, to their experiences, and allow ourselves to learn from them. Not just learn from, you know, the news we're reading or what we think. So we need to pray, we need to have conversations, we need to be committed to extend our learning. So to move from outrage to action, some learning needs to occur. And I'd argue that the best person to learn from is a black person, somebody who's had those experiences, and there are some fantastic black authors out there who have written about the topic of racism in the church. There's a book called Why I No Longer Talk to White People About Race. That is on my reading list. After this video, I'm going to post a reading list of books that you can buy and you can read to supplement your understanding, to help you move beyond where you're at now to a place of understanding a bit more. I'm not saying we don't have any understanding at all, but we need to learn, we need to grow in this area. And I'd encourage you to buy those books. I've got some on my wish list at the minute because lots of them are sold out. So that's something important that needs to happen as well. What I'll also do is post links to groups and pages on Facebook and Instagram that are also teaching about this kind of stuff. There's one lady called Rachel Cargill. She is an academic and a lecturer on kind of feminism and racism and white privilege. And she isn't a Christian. Some of these pages aren't written or led by Christian speakers, but that doesn't mean we can't learn from them. So I'd really encourage you to go and check her out. There's another page called No White Saviours, which has been very controversial in Christian circles because the conversation, which is led by two black women and a white woman who are African, are talking about actually how often the saviour of the story is a white person. We love to go everywhere and save people and help people, but what is the purpose of that? What's our motivation? Why are we doing that? And so I think a conversation needs to happen in the church as well. We need to start thinking about that, and it's going to be really uncomfortable because it brings up questions about the way we do missions sometimes. We need to stop and reflect on that stuff. We need to not be stubborn and be closed-hearted about that, and kind of adoption from abroad as well. These are conversations that really, really are overdue, actually, that need to be had. And I just pray that you would be open-hearted enough to do some reading and to have those conversations and to reflect and think about those things without automatically closing the door because it feels too uncomfortable. Because I don't think it's a big price to pay to be uncomfortable, is it, to learn and to be able to support our communities better. And then finally, we can also donate to causes. We can support black businesses that are already kind of up and running, and we can donate to groups that are already strategically working in areas in black communities to bring equality. And so I'm also going to post some links to places that if you feel driven that you want to send money to help, that you can do that. There's currently a fund at the moment for George Floyd's family, for a memorial fund, but the names and the hashtags are absolutely endless. There's so many families that have been devastated, and we can see that now in the rage and the distress that is being expressed across America at the moment. And so I really thank you guys for listening to me, but I really encourage you guys, don't stop at Outrage, don't stop at sharing a post. Go on that journey to actually consider what's happening, self-reflect, have those conversations with your family, buy some books, do some reading, do some learning, and commit to learning something new and actually being an advocate for the people we loudly shout that we care about. Bless you guys. Thank you.